Hey, I'm Myers. Doing another video. Normally I do record review videos, and I'm going to do some today, but this is one of the more personal videos, and this is about my sobriety. Um, in AA, 12-step programs, they don't count sober time until you actually achieve it. So if I make it till Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving this year will be 19 years sobriety for me. And so, uh, hang on, I need to grab my little putty here. Oh, he wants to be in the video also. So anyways, Thanksgiving 2004, I got sober. Not by choice. Um, Actually, I don't know what I wanted at that point, what my choice would be. They talk about the only solution. There's the three ultimate solutions for people like me: institutions, death, or sobriety. And like the night before Thanksgiving, 2004 was the last night I was out. I had I I remember I called a cab, but they told me it would be a really really long wait, and I wanted to go, so I decided to drive anyways. And I was driving down my street, and I pulled in my driveway, and a cop followed me, and like a cop was coming the other direction and followed me in my driveway and popped me for third offense DUI right in my own driveway. Um, and so by the time I was able to use the phone, the next like if I remember right, I needed like 600 or 650 to bond out, and I had like 250, $300 or something, and so I wanted to get a hold of my dad for, you know, get, have him get me out of jail or whatever. And by the time I was able to use the phone, he's over in Ponca, Nebraska. Every year we have a big family reunion. My dad, my dad's parents, my grandpa Myers had 8 siblings, and my grandma Myers, her maiden name was Luckin. She had 8 siblings. So every year at Thanksgiving, we on the Myers side, my grandpa's family, they have this big family reunion deal, and so and imagine now 9 kids. They have a bunch of kids of their own. Like my grandma, my grandma used to tell me she had 54 nieces and nephews, and she knew all their birthdays and this and that, and whatever. So, like it's a pretty big deal, and so I'm in jail. I can't get a hold of my dad because or anybody because um, it's Thanksgiving, and like my dad didn't carry a personal cell phone at that point in 2004. So I spent the day in Dakota County Jail in Dakota City, Nebraska, which is a fucking miserable place. And in fact, like just yesterday, we were down in Dakota City. Our middle daughter Jessica had a baby shower at the fire hall in Dakota City, and it's like, God, what a Dakota City and South Sioux, Nebraska are so fucking miserable. Just driving through them, just run down, beat down, shitty fucking packing house towns, and so anyways, yeah, really fucking shit places to grow up. And so that Thanksgiving, I decided I was done drinking. I decided like I was done like getting in trouble. I mean, because at first, like they were charging me with a first offense DUI, and because they hadn't talked to Iowa yet to find out that I already had 2 DUIs in Iowa, and so I knew as soon as they talked to Iowa, and these states all talk to each other, they'd be changing my charges or whatever. But they charged me with first offense, released me with like $650 bond, and but I've been arrested. I've been arrested 24 times in my life, as an adult and as a minor. And every time I've ever been arrested, it was for alcohol. Minor possession alcohol, open container, public intox, disorderly conduct. I can't remember what state. I think Nebraska doesn't have public intox, but they'll charge you with disorderly conduct. I got hit with a public urination one time for being drunk and peeing, and just like, it's not like I'm a mad dog killer. I'm not violent. I'm not, I'm not a thief. So it's not, like in my mind, like, am I really a criminal? Am I really? I mean, I've been arrested 24 times, but am I really a criminal? Or am I just a drunk who makes shitty decisions? And so I got, I decided maybe get sober, and when I did, it was my first go around with recovery by any means, and so I got, I quit drinking right away. To try to impress the judge, I entered into an outpatient rehab program. The counselor I had, ex-needle junkie, who spent half of his life in prison, and he'd been sober for 24 years at that point. And I figured, if he could fucking do it, then I could do it, because I'm just a simple drunk. I'm not, I never shot smack or anything like that. So if I could get sober, if that guy could get sober, I definitely could. And he was a big inspiration. He there was another counselor there that, like, she didn't identify as being an addict or alcoholic or anything, and she just went to school for it. And, like, I got nothing out of her. Absolutely, like, I did get something out of this dude because, he'd been there. He'd done it, I mean, he went to prison for paper hanging, writing bad checks to pay for his addiction. And, so I get it. Like, this guy made sense to me. And him and a few other people said something to me that he said, let us love you until you can figure out how to love yourself. And I didn't know what that really meant, but, okay, sounds nice, whatever. And they said, go to meetings. And I went to all these fucking meetings. And for weeks, I went to meetings, and here goes my dog again. I went to meetings for weeks, and I knew people were talking, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. Like, everybody sounded like Charlie Brown's mama. Like, wah 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 wah. And so one night, they used to do this meeting at the Hawkeye Club downtown, where it was called Sweets and Treats, where, like, it was candlelit meeting, like 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. And I'm in there one night, and I hear this guy talking, and he's telling a story. And very easily, I could have picked apart the differences between this guy and myself. Like, this guy talked about growing up in Texas, and I grew up in the upper Midwest, and he'd gone to Vietnam. I didn't. I've never served in the military. I can't relate. He's talking about coming back from Vietnam to Oakland and joining the Black Panthers. I've got no clue, I could have really easily picked apart this guy's story of, he's nothing like me. But what I heard him say that like hit home for me was, he drank too much and it caused a lot of trouble for himself and others, and so this guy, like, he just struck me. He was funny. He had this fucking dry wit to him that he just say shit like off the cuff that it reminded me of like my grandfather. And I've always kind of looked up to guys who had that dry wit to them and whatever. And this guy was funny and had that dry wit, and so I kind of figured out what meetings he went to follow him around. And so I'd follow him around, and there was a couple other guys who started following around and whatever, and then I had to go to jail for that third offense DUI. The prosecutor was asking for 180 days in jail. My attorney pissed off the judge. Like, in something like that, you do what is called pre-sentence investigation, where you sit down with like a psychologist or whatever from the prosecutor's office or whatever, and they ask you all these questions, and they really get to know the core of who you are, the likelihood of you reoffending or whatever, and you really can't bullshit because they have so many different questions that kind of overlap each other that you'd slip up if you're trying to bullshit them. And so anyways, they do like this pre-sentence investigation. They end up writing up a report, and a judge could do whatever the fuck they want, but 99.9% of the time a judge is going to follow that pre-sentence investigation report because they've done the research to get to know you, and whatever. So I kept calling my attorney, and the guy's a total piece of shit. He took my money as a retainer or whatever, and I kept calling and asking him, what that pre-sentence investigation report say? What came back in that pre-sentence investigation report? Do I need to put all my shit in storage and get rid of my dog because I'm going away? Or do I, am I going to get house arrest? Or he says, don't worry about it. I haven't read it yet. I haven't seen it, blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen it. They haven't sent it to me, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about it. I'm like, court's next week. And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll ask for a continuance. We fucking show up to court, and this piece of shit, he ends up coming into court and told the judge, yeah, I haven't seen the pre-sentence investigation report yet. And the prosecutor stands up and she says, he's had 6 weeks to read it. Well, that pisses the judge off that, hey, we sent you this report 6 weeks ago, and you haven't taken the fucking time to do your job and get off your ass and do your fucking job. So now the judge is pissed off, and so uh, the prosecutors ask for 180 days. The judge gives me 220 days in county jail. I get 40 more days in jail because my attorney fucking sucked. And do what you want, but I went hire that fucking idiot. And because he can't be bothered. He was too busy fucking brown nosing up to wanting to be part of George W. Bush's cabinet or some bullshit. I don't know. But anyways, fuck him, and then the motherfucker had the audacity to send me a fucking bill for all these hours of that he wanted to charge me of, and it's like when I was in jail, and I fucking I got out of jail and I hand wrote a letter to the fucking Iowa State Attorney Board or whatever, and said, this guy didn't fucking represent me. He didn't do shit. He didn't read. He was supposed to read this fucking report, and he didn't. He didn't fucking do what he was supposed to do, and I didn't get any representation because we show up to court, they're ready to fucking proceed. He hadn't done the fucking work he needed to do, asked for a continuance, and they fucking laughed at him, and I paid the price for it. I got 40 more days in the fucking can because of that fucking piece of shit. So I highly recommend, the guy's office is at 18th and Jackson in Sioux City, in an old house that's been converted to a law office. If you're looking for legal representation, I wouldn't go there. So anyways, I got sentenced to 220 days in jail. I didn't, after what I heard the jail sentence would be, I didn't really hear anything else. So they, I was worried. I had a little house with all my possessions in it that I was renting, and then I had a dog. She was really cool Australian Shepherd, yellow lab mix, and a real sweet dog. And anyways, I was worried about her, because they took me into jail. They a couple days later they moved me to Columbus, Nebraska. I was there for a couple months at the jail in Columbus, Nebraska. A couple months after that, they came and took me down to Plattsmouth, Nebraska, to the jail there, and they were pretty shitty. I saw some things, they were shitty experiences. I experienced some things in there that, I wouldn't want anybody ever have to see or, experience or whatever. And, it's not, I was always okay, like I said, I've been arrested 24 times. I was always okay with getting thrown in the drunk tank overnight and being able to sign myself out with a signature bond for public intox or whatever. But, when they want to start keeping me for months at a time, so because of the sentence and whatnot, like when I got out, I was done. I wasn't going to be on paper at all. I wasn't going to be on probation or anything. So I was totally done. So in my mind, if I'm totally done, I don't owe anything. I'm not on probation or anything like that. I could go drink again, right? I could get out of jail, go straight to the bar, and but if I do that, sooner or later I'm going to be right back in jail because that's the reality of it. And so, and it was kind of animated there in my sentencing. The fucking judge is waving his gavel over his head saying, "Mr. Myers, I don't care what your attorney and the prosecutors agreed to. And it's like, fuck, they ain't even agreed to shit. And, I get fucking sent up the river, And did I drive home drunk? Yeah. You know, reality of it is, I've been popped for 3 DUIs, but those aren't the only 3 times I drove home drunk. So you see these motherfuckers, saying, "Oh, this is the first time I've ever done this. I've never done anything like this." Whatever, bullshit. I mean, I've been popped 3 times, but they weren't the only times I ever drove home drunk. And is it wrong? Yeah, it's wrong to, I mean, I've known people who've lost family members from drunk drivers hitting them in car accidents or whatever, and but for the grace of God, I never hit anything or hurt anybody, and so and yeah, I don't know. So I came out. Started going to meetings, and and my friends in recovery who were there will tell you, I was a really fucking angry person. Holy cow, was I angry! And so I started going to these meetings, and and that's what I did. I don't know. And then about a year and a half later, I met this woman who ended up becoming my wife. She had these kids who I ended up just raising as my own. And, the oldest was just leaving home at the time to get married herself, and, ended up having her own kids. So I've got these 4 amazing grandkids who each have different personalities, and they're fucking funny and amazing, and just come up with weird shit, and so that's the when I learned guitar circuit shit when I was going to college. From the guy who taught me how to open a business. So, anyways, I'd gone to Radio Shack and bought some shit, and went out to Sears and bought myself a little Craftsman soldering iron and whatever, and I'm building a few guitar circuits here and there, and then I figured out about Mauser and DigiKey, and how I could order bulk parts from a pack of 300 resistors. It costs the same from Mauser as what 5 resistors cost at Radio Shack. So I started ordering this shit, and this shit's coming in the mail, and my wife's like, "What is this, and how much money are we spending on it?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about it. I'm going to resell this shit to other people. It's a business." So I kind of backdoored myself into starting Sioux Guitars at that point. And, so I don't know, I stayed sober somehow for 19 years. Like I said, this go round isn't my first bout with sobriety. This is fucked up. When I was 13 years old, I got taken to a rehab and dropped off. I never drank or did any drugs at that point, but somehow I got admitted into a adolescent drug and alcohol program. I believe, I have no proof of this, and I talked to my dad about this a year or two ago, but I believe it was an insurance fraud thing. That, my dad was on the road or whatever, and my mom took me up there because I was 13 and, whatever. Basically, I was 13 and going through puberty. My grades had gone down. I beat up my little brother, and, so the solution was to take me to a drug and alcohol rehab. Okay, so my parents had pretty good insurance, so they admitted me in this place for 28 days because that's what the insurance would pay for. So I was healthy enough to leave there after 28 days, but I was also fucked up enough after 28 days of inpatient rehab. I needed 90 days of outpatient rehab. And then fucking aftercare basically until I left home at the age of 17. But anyways, it was insurance fraud, because and at that time in Sioux City in the late 80s, early 90s, fucking every family that had half decent insurance, like they'd get a kid in this rehab program, and then they'd convince, the other kids in the family need treatment too, and the parents, and you need family shit, and blah, and it was a fucking racket, and this place was called Gordon Recovery, and it was a fucking racket. It was insurance fraud. I remember the motherfucker who did my intake. This motherfucker sold me up the river. There's a special place in hell for this guy, Kermit Dolan. I remember I remember this motherfucker doing this intake on me, just like Holocaust survivor remembers, the Nazi piece of shit who did their fucking intake to, one of the camps, because, this motherfucker changed my life. His name was Kermit Dolan. He did my fucking intake. He sold me up the river for, I don't know what they build the insurance company for, but fucked up my life. Because here I am, a 13-year-old kid, innocent kid. I'd gone, was into skateboarding and punk rock and whatever, but but I got put into this inpatient, rehab with kids, 4 or 5 years older than me who had done stuff, who, even though I never drank or did drugs before I went in there, what I learned in there is how to lie, how to procure alcohol, how to play the fucking game. And so as soon as I came out, I was a fucking pro, and I blame that motherfucker, Kermit Dolan. He just saw, good insurance, we'll cash in. It was a fucking money, it was an insurance scam, and, what the fuck are you putting kids who've never drank or did any drugs in a drug? They called me, what they called me was codependent. Really? You put a fucking 13-year-old there's nothing about me that's ever screamed codependency, like I'm not a codependent, and by textbook definitions, even loosely, I care about my wife and my family and whatever, but like I'm not codependent, so throw me in there to fucking, it fucked my life up. And I know there's going to be a special place in hell for that motherfucker, he because there's nothing special about me. Here's the thing, if he did it to me, how many other fucking kids in the area did he do it to, right? There's nothing special about me, Yeah, my parents had good insurance. So did a lot of other people, there were a lot of other fucking kids. I know there, because I saw them. There were these other fucking kids that got motherfucked, and and their families got wrapped up in this shit. You know, it was a fucking cult going on in Sioux City at that time. Every family with decent insurance was wrapped up in Gordon recovery. You know, like it was some sort of fucking cult. And, you know, like it is sickening that they would do that to kids. You know, I was 13, but my little brother, he was fucking 9. And they had him doing something on Wednesday nights. And, like, fuck it, at 9 years old, all you know at 9 years old is what video games you like and what cartoons you like. And, you know, whether you want hot dogs or mac and cheese for dinner. You know, like that's all, you know, like, I mean, my brother didn't know fucking shit from Shinola at that point. You know, but they have him up there on Wednesday nights at Old St. Joe Hospital doing something. You know, it was a fucking cult. You know, and those people burn in hell. You know, doing that to kids. You know, it's one thing fucking around with adults or whatever, but fucking kids up like that, you know. And like I said, I come out of there after 30 days and then 90 days of outpatient treatment, you know, and it just fucked me up, you know. I got my first DUI at 21. I kind of did that intentional. I was, you know, supposed to work for my dad, driving truck, and the thing is, it wasn't just driving for my dad. It was working for my mom, and like, my dad's cool. Like, you know, like, but my mom, you know, like, she couldn't separate out the whole parent-kid relationship from employer-employee relationship. She wanted me to wear uniforms and just constant fucking bullshit. And, you know, by that point she'd already disowned me a couple times because one time she disowned me because I had my hair dyed black, and another time she disowned me, I can't remember, but you know, just fucking stupid shit where, like, I knew I couldn't work for my fucking parents, and I mean, I definitely couldn't work for my mom, so I basically was intentionally trying to get a DUI, and which sounds ridiculous, you know, but the reality is, like, I knew sooner or later the way I was acting, I was going to get popped. You know, I was doing stupid shit. Like, I was living in Omaha at that point, and I'd drive up from Omaha, drinking a 12-pack and throwing the empty cans of Miller High Life out the window, and on I-29 or whatever. And you know, so I got popped early morning hours of my brother's birthday, May 16th, and you know, so I you know, to try to get myself out of trouble, and, you know, whatever, I couldn't do, you know, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do or whatever. I put myself into an inpatient rehab at that point, and I for a month, and you know, they wanted me to go into the men's halfway house when I come out, and I didn't do that. You know, they had all these other recommendations I didn't do. I mean, because in my mind, when I was in there, like, I wasn't done yet. Like, I just needed to dry myself out enough to plan my next move, and, you know, figure out my next scam, my next move, whatever. And but I'd keep partying or whatever. And, you know, I stayed sober like 6 months, 9 months, I can't remember at that point. And, you know, but, like, I decided I'd go back to school at Iowa State, and, you know, so I moved to Ames, Iowa, and I drank a lot over there. Holy fuck, did I drink a lot. And, you know, I got so bad I had these heart palpitations, and like I thought I was having a fucking heart attack one time, and I went to the doctor's office, and I broke the blood pressure cuffs and a couple of them, and they couldn't get a good blood pressure reading on me, so they sent me up to the hospital, and they had a hard time getting. They said that like my blood pressure was super high, and also I had heart palpitations, whatever that I don't know. They asked me about my drinking and whatever, and I told them, and they asked me, "What's your diet like?" And I'm like, "So does it look like I'm on a fucking diet?" And they're like, "No. What do you eat?" And I was not eating a whole lot. Maybe at bar close, I have a gyro off the gyro stand, or bratwurst or something off the gyro stand, but I wasn't eating a whole lot at that point. I was getting all my calories from alcohol, and I was a pretty sick puppy. But anyways, yeah, I mean, all that shit, things haven't been easy for me as a drinker, and then things weren't easy for me getting sober. I mean, getting sober sucks. I'll be honest with any of you thinking about it. Like, it's rough, and I always think about Winston Churchill said, "If you're going through hell, keep going." And because the thing about getting sober is eventually you'll get to the other side, so it's the shitty part is having to walk through that fire of one, getting sober, and two, changing your whole fucking life where you're not dependent on getting fucked up, or how to just be content with sobriety or whatever, and and walking through that fire, because you only know your reality. You only know what you've experienced, and you've never experienced sobriety. So, you won't know what's on the other side until you get there, and that just putting one in front of the other until you get there thing is scary, and things turned out pretty good for me. I won't go back to drinking. It's going to be 19 years this Thanksgiving, and I don't. When I think about drinking, I don't think of glory days or good times or anything like that. I think about being really sick. I think about being really fucking lonely. Part of the reason I got sober that night, the night before Thanksgiving, I was out at a club, and I remember I danced with a woman. She was friends with Heather Berger. I don't even know who this gal is. She says she was married. I'm like, that's okay. I'm not talking about fucking you. I just want to dance with you. And we danced, and I was so lonely at that point. Like, I'd been taking home these nameless gals at bar clothes that, like, I hated myself so much at that point that I hated these women. And, so, like, the gals I'd take home, I just despised. And, so there were times where I'd swear off women because, they were disgusting. And, because when you're a low-life piece of shit, you attract other low-life pieces of shit, And I kept thinking, God, I wish a good woman would come rescue me from myself. And the reality is, no good woman wants anything to do with a fucking fall-down drunk who shits the bed, I mean, that's, if you want a good woman, you got to have something to offer, so, it took me a while to get my shit together and have something to offer. And I think relationships are how water finds its own level. That you're going to attract and be attracted to somebody who's as healthy as you are. And you'll see two junkie bums in love with each other, but you won't see a junkie bum with somebody driving an Audi. It just doesn't work that way. If you want a higher caliber person in your life, take care of yourself. Have something to offer. So, I can't go back to the way I lived. I can't do that. And and when I met Rhonda, I explained all this stuff to her, and I said, relationships fail because people grow apart from each other, and this is the direction I'm headed. I want you to go with me, and and she did. And over the years, she's grown and evolved as a person. I've grown and evolved as a person, and as a couple, we've grown and evolved together. So things have been pretty good for us, and but yeah, sobriety works. I've struggled, like, part of sobriety, of recovery that I struggle with is the dependence on a higher power. I don't believe in the Judeo-Christian God. I lost my faith in that years and years ago. Think about the Holocaust. Thinking about the Holocaust, as far as those people surely prayed, right? And if God ignored their prayers, how the fuck is God going to answer my prayers to get me out of the speeding ticket or get me that job promotion? Or like that's bullshit. Like, thinking that God is some sort of cosmic genie when he slept through the fucking Holocaust and ignored those people's prayers. If he could ignore the prayers of all those people who died in the Holocaust, then there is no Judeo-Christian God. I don't believe it. Pray about that cancer diagnosis, or pray about this, or pray about those fucking people in the Holocaust. They prayed. They had to have. Did God answer their fucking prayers? That's So I struggle with the whole Judeo-Christian God thing. So the higher power thing I believe in is kind of a hybrid of karma and Zen Buddhism, of and maybe a little bit of the Force from Star Wars, of basically everything's looking for balance, and you just love and let live, and so hey, I don't know. Are there higher powers in my life? You betcha. When that fucking Judge Rager in Dakota County Courts swinging the fucking gavel over his head, yelling at me, he definitely was a higher power in my life. Is that the kind of higher power I want in my life? Fuck no. But yeah, I'm so glad I'm away from Nebraska and all that stupid fucking shit. Oh my God. I just cringe when I have to go down to Nebraska for shit, because it's a shithole fucking state, and never did anything good for me. But anyways, yeah, if you're struggling, man, I get it, and if you need to talk about it or whatever, if I can't help you out, maybe I could point you in the right direction. But for me, I can't get fucked up. I can't, my life's a pretty short movie, and I don't want to sleep through it. So, yeah. So if all things go as planned, Thanksgiving will be 19 years sobriety. So, a lot of people claim specific dates. My recovery date, I don't know, it's just Thanksgiving. And because, the last time I was out was the night before Thanksgiving 2004, and I decided to get sober Thanksgiving Day 2004. So, anyways, yeah. So if you've never been to an AA meeting, you kind of just experience what an AA meeting is. You know, a lot of times in an AA meeting, they discuss what it was like, what happened, and what you're like now. And, you know, you got the gist of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now from this video. So, anyways, thanks for watching. I'll get you some record review videos done today. So, bye.